back to another week of my life as a professor, researcher, etc., etc. If you're new here, instead of giving you the spiel of who I am or forcing you to go watch old videos, I'll just put it in the description. If you're not new here, welcome back. Sorry, I have the window open. Nature. Today is technically the first day of the new semester as far as teaching. It is Tuesday, January 20th. So my goal today is to make sure my lecture is ready and prepped, make some adjustments to that and the activities that we'll do on the first day. This first day of this specific course can feel a little bit overwhelming for students. I go through one of their first assignments, and it's not that the assignment is difficult, but those of you that are teachers, pre-K through 12th grade teachers, not my fellow college professors, if you can think back to before you finished your teacher education licensure program, it can feel a little confusing and overwhelming. For my career switchers, this can be really stressful because a lot of them have a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, this or that, and so depending on what state you're in, sometimes some of that plays more or less into your certification process. So for each of them, I have people who are brand new to college going for the first time through. I have people who have master's degrees. I've had people who have doctorates, and they are transitioning the field of education, all of them. So I have a graphic organizer assignment that the department uses. The first time somebody sits down to do that, like I said, like think back to before you were certified, it can feel really overwhelming about the tests you have to take, what classes are actually required, etc., especially if any of them are doing like a dual path with language learner certification as well, or special education. So there's a lot. So that is my goal today. I talked for way too long. I'm going to get my workout in, shower, eat some breakfast, and then I'm going to plant myself at this desk until my lecture is good to go, post the Zoom link and an announcement so that they all feel confident coming into the first class. And then I'll figure it out from there. I ended up doing a 30-minute strength workout. Rebecca Kennedy, if you're a Peloton person, Rebecca Kennedy has a new 4-week program out, and I think I'm gonna do it, but it doesn't have any running in it, so I'll just be mixing in my own runs. But I did her strength workout, and then I did a 10-minute HIIT run. All right, shower, breakfast, desk, let's go. I was going to do a little week in the life, but I think we might do a day in the life because it's gonna be a busy one, so you might as well come along with me. I was so excited when I opened the fridge. I did not have to cook my breakfast because I had leftovers from yesterday. I made too much. This is a lot. I'm gonna do a few admin things to get ready for my class tonight. At some point I have to go upstairs and dry my hair so that I can just sit and focus. I have one kid who will come home a little after 2, and we have to leave right away and go pick up the other. He gets out at 3, and then I have to fly back home because my class starts at 3:30. So before I ever leave to go pick up my oldest, I have to have my class, everything set up, logged in, ready to go. So that will be my first focus. If I have leftover time, I am going to work on writing and editing the abstract for the article that I was supposed to submit already, and I just tuned out and do it. What I used in the fall. I taught this class in August. I am going to edit everything, make any changes that I want to make based on how the fall teaching of this course went. I've taught this course many times and several times in this same 5-week fast-paced format, but I'm always tweaking and changing and improving things. Okay, everything is good to go. Since I teach the 3 courses and I don't teach them for the full semester, I teach them in chunks back to back, sometimes my brain has to reacclimate to the content because it will have been quite a while since I taught it. So I taught this one in August and September 2025. So I just reacclimated my brain to everything that I'm going to be talking about tonight, making sure I have plenty of things linked to support them. Going through the licensure process is really stressful. You don't want to miss anything, or you know, like come to the very end of the journey and realize you have a whole other assessment that you have to pay $130, $180 for. You haven't studied, you're not ready. Anyway, or a class, right? Like one class that you needed and you're completely done, and it's where you thought you were going to graduate, and then boom, you're behind. So we don't want those things to happen. So I go through all of that. I also updated my check-in. We have just email and name. That's it. It's very, very, very simple and to the point, which is all I need for an attendance check-in. Also did my welcome form. I didn't change anything on this. I liked what I had, but I really like to know why someone selects teaching. I find career switchers fascinating when they decide. I've had people who have completely retired from a career and then they want to get into teaching, which I think is cool. But I'm also fascinated by the psyche that the moments in the brain that led to that choice. So is it just like this desire to give back to the community? Is it chasing a dream that you always had but you took a different path? Was it financial, right? Like you didn't think it was a financially viable path at the time, but you had your career that was, you retired, now you're going into it. So many things. Did you just get bored? I like to know. So I like to ask what their name is on the roster, and then what their preferred or chosen name is. I want to be able to remember that when I'm grading, scoring, and then also making sure I'm using the correct name. I like to know about their education experience. Again, as I mentioned, everybody's in a different place in my courses. I also like to know about their work experience, because you might have someone who comes in and they think, well, my experience isn't valid because I'm not a lead teacher, but they might be a teacher's assistant. They might be working as an assistant at a child development center. Like, there's so many things. My first technical job in teaching was in a before and after school program when I was 18. What is your experience? I want to know, what have you done in the field? It could be such a wide variety, but those things bring a skill set. I had a skill set going into teaching because I had already organized and structured days for children and planned activities and executed those activities. You think that classroom management is challenging in the school day? Try it in a before and after school program when it's not what they view as the learning environment anymore. So a girl had some experience going in. I asked them something that they're really curious about the field of education that they would like to explore more deeply. No one enters a classroom as a blank slate. So we're not coming in as the teacher that way. Our students are not coming in as blank slates either. And because of that, we all bring really interesting and unique things to the environment. And so I like for them to think about, what is something interesting, unique, special about me that I bring to the classroom that can really benefit the learning process, my students, etc. And it's just finding that thing. One of the beautiful parts of education is, even though we might have the same training and we're working on the same science-based best practices, etc., right? We have all these things that we're doing, you know, relatively similarly across the board, hopefully. But we all still bring this uniqueness with us. The way that we teach, the way that we interact, the things that we can relate to students about, the way we structure the environment. There's so much that is us in the classroom. And I think that can be a really, really big strength, as long as you take a second to think about it and how it translates into the environment. It is 1 o'clock, which means I have about an hour and 20 minutes until I have to leave. So what I'm gonna do actually is go just take a 20-minute break. I'm probably just gonna walk around, do the dishes, something like that, give my brain a little break. And then I think I'm gonna pull up my article for just a couple minutes and just see what I can do with that. The light has changed so much this afternoon. I had some lunch. I wasn't super hungry, but I realized if I didn't eat, I wasn't gonna have time to eat. So I have about 30 minutes until I need to go. So what I've been doing is just double checking the requirements for submitting to the journal that I'm interested in. I was listening to someone talk about submitting a journal article, and how if you get a rejection from one group, it doesn't mean that the article isn't good. It just means it wasn't a good fit at that time for that journal. And I'm trying really hard to frame my brain that way in case, you know, whatever happens. And I have submitted journal articles in the past. I'm just more nervous about it than the social sciences. I am just making myself a little note about some of these things to include. And so I think right now what I need to do is my author bio, which I needed to update anyway, and then a 200-word abstract. Some of the materials that I used for my research, some of it was part of the UC Berkeley Suffragist Oral History Project. And when you first see those materials, it mentions that you need to get permission in order to use them. Some things are covered under fair use, like educational purposes, things like that, and just like taking excerpts from the printed transcript. This gets very different when you start dealing with the oral, which might vary from the final printed and approved transcript. So I'm just going to email them really quickly and double check that I'm okay to submit this article for consideration and see if there's anything. Obviously I have citations, all of that piece, but if there is an extra permission that I need in order to use that, because anytime you do use something like that, Taylor and Francis requires you to have those permissions in advance. So let me just send that email real quick. Okay, that email is sent. Hopefully there is no need for special permissions, but if it is, it's no problem. That was one of the things I needed to check off my list. And now it's just double check my word count, name and affiliation on the cover page, and a 200-word abstract. So I just got a student email. Those will be on the reg, which I love. Communicate, yes. Responded to that. I already have a response on my intake survey, which is nice. So waiting for some more of those to come in. We start in about an hour and a half. I know I'm bouncing back and forth. After last week's vlog, you were probably like, does this woman even brush her hair? And the answer is yes, on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Professor Marlowe in the house tested out my new microphone tech that I'm gonna try this semester. I have 10 minutes. Put my phone on silent. My husband's picking up the little one, but I like to keep this propped up just in case of an event, an emergency. I'm gonna plug this in. That will communicate between my computer and my microphone. I'm not gonna turn my mic on yet, but I am gonna go ahead and open my Zoom. Check my email real quick. Make sure I'm still logged into everything. I like to have all the windows open for things that I'm going to need for the evening, and ready to go. That is very helpful for me, just so I'm not finding it in the moment. Just have it there and ready to go. So I'm gonna need that graphic organizer tonight while I'm giving instructions. So I'm gonna pop that into my main window. And I think that's it as far as what I need tonight. And I already have my attendance ready to go. I have 8 responses already on my intake email. Zoom is still logged in, which is good. I think Canvas is still logged in, which is good. All good things. I have 9 minutes. Use the restroom, come back. I might just let this record for a while. Obviously I won't be able to leave in any audio. student privacy. But I may just let it record for a while. You can hang out with me for a little bit while I teach. I have an energy drink. I'm gonna get some water. And yeah, that'll be it. If you just got here, that form, it will be posted at the beginning of every class. I repost it for the first 2 to 3 minutes. Okay, let's go ahead and get into the beginning of the class. So most evenings I will be talking very minimally as far as lecturing. A lot of what we do actually happens out in groups. You're completing assignments together. So this is a 5-week course, but we are covering a full semester of content. So what that means is we have to move very quickly. And to accommodate that, I use as much of my course time as possible to allow you to complete assignments, and we break up that workload. I know how much it takes to be here. I know how exhausting it is, so I'm so happy to work with you. What I will say is when you hear that there are many group activities and conversations and discussions, you can be like, oh no, I'm so tired, no more discussions, please. I do understand, but what I can tell you is that from feedback from my students, that's always their favorite part. Their favorite part is always the fact that, one, there's so much done in the course time, so that frees up the rest of their week, and two, they enjoy making the connections and collaborating. It's not often that a high school teacher gets to take ideas from an elementary teacher or vice versa, and through these courses you can hear perspectives and share strategies and ideas that you might not have ever considered before. Next week we go into today's teachers and schools, and you're writing your philosophy of education. I've actually been revisiting my own philosophy of education over the past couple weeks. It's something that evolves with you over time. It shouldn't be the same. The one that I wrote 15 years ago should not look like the one that I'm doing today. You evolve as an educator, your understanding of the classroom and how teaching and learning occurs, all of that, it should be a continuous evolution. We are going to go into this room for about 20 minutes. So it is 7 right now. We'll come back at 7:20. When we come back at 7:20, we're gonna take a 10-minute break. So you can run to the restroom, stretch, whatever you need to do. And at 7:30, that is when I will have your representative from your group share. So it'll give you 20 minutes to talk, 10 minutes for a quick break, and then we'll move on to the next thing. Do I have any questions so far? Feel free to unmute.